Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today at Fantastic 2015. It is a wonderful Friday, February the 13th. I hope everybody has wonderful Valentine's Day plans. It's a gorgeous day here in Columbia. I wanted to tell you it's a pleasure to be here and have the opportunity to speak with you about online learning and quality assurance. Our presentation today and our panel discussion is on implementing quality assurance standards in higher education online courses. And we're pleased to be able to have this conversation with you. So at any time, if you have any questions or want to interject into the conversation, please feel free. I wanted us to introduce ourselves first. I'm Lydia Frass, and I'm an instructional designer here at the Center for Teaching Excellence in the University of South Carolina in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm a colleague of Veronica's. Veronica's a great partner from our Aiken campus, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about my background. I'm an adult educator, and I have a background in training, workforce development, working with public health, as well as working with faculty and online learning in a previous life before coming here to the University of South Carolina. And I'd like to let my coworker Ryan take the opportunity to introduce himself now, and I'll turn the floor over to him.
All right. Thanks, Lydia. My name is Ryan. I am the Senior Instructional Designer within the Center for Teaching Excellence. My background is in really mostly definitely within instructional design, but I have more of an IT and computer programming and networking background. I've actively teach face-to-face computer programming and computer networking courses at various higher educational institutions, and I have a master's in educational technology and going for a defense for my doctorate and my dissertation next month.
Can everybody hear us and understand us clearly?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So if we could take a minute if anybody would like to introduce themselves, and let's get to know each other. If you could tell us who you are and where you're from and maybe a little bit about what you do. To unmute yourself, you would either press M on your keyboard. I see Mary Alice is...
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. My name's Mary Alice Morosky. I'm at the University of Wisconsin in River Falls, Wisconsin, where we don't expect to get much above 20 degrees today, and hopefully in the single digits tomorrow. And I, like Ryan, actually am a computer science instructor who has been working IT for the last 14 years, and I am now back in the classroom and excited to be there. So I'm teaching a Programming 1 class for the first time in 20 years in my 6th language, I think. So
thank you for joining us today. So I also see our co-worker Gloria Washington is here. We're very pleased to have her join us at the Center for Teaching Excellence, and we're glad she was able to join us this morning. So
hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hi, Gloria. Well, Ryan, if you could tell us a little bit about our what we're hoping to discuss today.
Certainly. Let me get the slide change there. Give me one moment. All right. So Many of you, I'm sure, have read our abstract, but our main purpose of our session today is to have a panel discussion. So we really want to hear from, of course, Lydia and I are going to tell you what we're doing at USC, but we actually want to hear also from you to see what you're doing at your university to explore quality assurance models across participants and how these frameworks have been implemented and how, if any, elements of the particular quality assurance rubric is actually stressed more than others. For an example, as we're going to talk about in a few moments, we are here at USC, we are forcing accessibility at a higher risk or at a higher stake than probably some of the other elements on a quality assurance rubric.
So to get started, we'd like to tell you a little bit about what we're doing. Ryan gave you a brief overview, but back in 2013, the university adopted the Quality Matters standards. And this was a faculty-driven process, but we also are very glad that we have administrative support in carrying out these standards. One thing that they knew was that the standards were good, but they didn't necessarily quite apply to everything that the university wanted to accomplish. Yeah, or is everybody familiar with the Quality Matters standards? Is great. You know, they're great national standards, and I'm glad that we have some guiding framework to move as we move forward. But one thing that we wanted was to stress some items more than others, like Ryan mentioned the accessibility standards. You know, with Quality Matters, you have standards that are of higher importance than others, you know, although they're all important, but especially like, for instance, the accessibility. One thing that the faculty here wanted to ensure was that all of the accessibility standards were implemented and were stressed. And so they actually had a committee that looked at the standards and looked at how they could be implemented across our campus. And they modified the accessibility standards a little bit and made them all requirements for online learning here at the university. And because they were modified, we're no longer referring to them as strictly Quality Matters standards, but rather USC's quality assurance standards. And we've developed a modified checklist to help us as we work with faculty in online learning. In our program here at USC, we have online learning referred to as distributed learning. And distributed learning here not only refers to 100% online, but also those blended format classes where more than 50% of the course is taught online. And any of those fall within our realms. I mentioned too that we do have some administrative support, and we're very pleased that the Provost's office actually supports faculty in online learning through internal grant programs. And they also help with redevelopment of currently online programs, but also moving classes from the face-to-face environment to online learning. And we have three main grant and or course redevelopment programs. We have a distributed learning grant. We have course revision grants and Palmetto College grants. And I'm not certain how many of you have heard of our Palmetto College, but it is an initiative here within South Carolina to try and have students who might have started college sometime in their life and because of life circumstances had to withdraw. Palmetto College actually provides a way for them to return back to college in an accelerated format or accelerated classes to actually complete their degree. And we have certain programs such as, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, nursing and general education, I believe, and what are the others?
I believe there's one in business, and I'll have to go back and look at what the other one is.
But it's a great opportunity for students. But this also means that we now have more classes that are being placed completely online, and they're being placed online in an 8-week form, 7 to 8 week format, which provides somewhat of a challenge for not only the students but for the faculty who have to develop classes online. And one thing that the provost's office and the Palmetto College administration has really stressed is that they must be developed and implemented using our quality assurance standards. So we've got a process in place to try and work with faculty to, before they actually begin developing their course, to make sure that their classes are developed and designed using these guiding frameworks. So we've modified them. We've worked with faculty through these grant programs. Anybody at the university that receives one of these internal grants are required to work with us in the design process. And hopefully, going through this process, they're learning about the quality assurance standards and are designing the class in a way that will improve the learning opportunities and experiences for students. And Ryan's going to tell you a little bit about some of the other programs that we've got going on.
All right. Well, thank you, Lydia. So Lydia mentioned a lot about the Palmetto College, but two of the other grant programs that we have are what's called the Provost Distributed Learning Grants and then Course Revision Grants. So with the Provost Distributed Learning Grants, these are for faculty members who are interested in converting a face-to-face class into an online environment. So maybe you have computer programming 1 in the face-to-face, but now you want to bring that into an online environment. So faculty get a X amount of sum, and they will, from start to finish, develop an online course. Now, generally, we recommend about a semester to really 2 semesters to fully convert this face-to-face into an online environment, not only because of the amount of time that it takes, but there is certain approvals at the university that they have got to get signed off on to convert that face-to-face class into a distributed learning environment. And that in of itself generally takes 2 or 3 months to get through a faculty, what's called a in-depth committee to get that fully approved. The other types of grants that we have is what's called course revision grants. So about 1.5 or 2 years ago, the provost decided that all undergraduate and graduate courses that are taught online in the distributed learning format will be mandated to go through quality review. So last year, we started with all undergrad courses. So all undergraduate courses at the university, the department chairs were notified that all these courses are on the books as far as distributed learning, and they had the option to either retire the course, either convert the course back into a face-to-face environment, or they had the option to bring or to update the course to meet quality assurance. Can everyone still hear me? Because it said my network connection was low. Okay, thank you. Okay, so what we did last year at USC, again, is me and the other 3 designers, we reviewed all undergraduate courses and worked with those faculty. I will say it was about 150 or so online courses to convert those into a quality assurance or to meet the quality assurance rubric. This year we are now doing graduate courses. Now at USC there's about probably 3 to 4 times the amount of graduate online courses than there is at the undergraduate level. So we've identified 4 graduate degree programs, and over the next 2 years we're going to work with those degree programs to convert their current online course into a quality assurance online course. And then from there, we'll look at the other graduate programs. In the ideal world, we are trying to, every 3 to 4 years, redo or reevaluate every course. Okay, so does anyone have any questions so far or anything? If not, yes, Ruth.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. You said 3 designers reviewed 150 courses.
Yes.
How long did that take?
About a year. Far as our undergraduate program, about a year. And so typically how we handled this was we met with the department chair, and depending upon the designer, personally, I met with each faculty member individually, and what we do at USC is we sort of have a standard template kind of built. So I would go through that template, highlighting all the parts to the quality assurance rubric. I would get our technology people to build a fake sandbox course. I would copy over my template into that course, put the faculty member in that course, and then ask them to go ahead and begin designing their new and improved course following this template.
And one more question.
Sure.
I thought I heard you say that they had the choice of having their courses reviewed or going back to a face-to-face. Out of your 150 courses or so, how many people chose not to do that? How many went back?
I don't know. I don't know the exact number, but I mean, there was a few departments or a few faculty that decided, hey, we want to retire this course. Now they knew, and they were told if they decided to retire the course, and then a semester later they wanted to bring it back, they would have to go through the same process that the new faculty who are trying to convert the course from face-to-face to online. They would have to go back through that same what we call DED process. So once they're retired, if they decided, 5 weeks later, oops, then they would have to go through the formal process again.
And that review process takes, like Ryan said, about 2 months to 3 months if everything's okay. I believe, Veronica, did you have a question?
Yes, I wanted to find out if Ryan made a couple of notes about making sure that the course was on the template that you provide. What else was part of that process? Did you actually comb through the course to make sure objectives were measurable and that they were aligned? Did you go through and talk recommendations to improve the pedagogy and technology, or was it just simply the fact that it was on a new template?
Right. So, again, the main thing here at USC, and I think Lydia and I will touch on it in just a few minutes, but I'll go ahead and say it, is accessibility. That was probably the biggest headache and the biggest issue for most faculty. And what I mean by accessibility is we mandated that any video that the faculty member produces that's going to be used semester after semester has got to have a closed caption or a transcript. Currently, we don't have free services at the university for faculty to use. So they had themselves to either go back and transcribe their lectures, use a GA or TA, or for many of the, of course for the new course developments, but even for the courses that we reviewed, faculty got $1,500 per course for their time, and so they could use part of that $1,500, and we partner with a company called 3Play Media that charges a small fee to go and transcribe each lecture. So they could have used part of that grant money to pay for that company to transcribe. So accessibility, far as videos, and then converting your PowerPoint slides, your Word files, and your PowerPoint files into a accessible format was probably the biggest challenge for most faculty. But yes, Veronica, we also made sure that all learning outcomes, learning objectives, and we made faculty write weekly or module objectives. We all made sure that those were measurable according to Bloom's taxonomy. Now, of course, with Bloom's, if you say week 3 that you're going to discuss the differences between maybe HTML5 versus XHTML, if you're going to discuss, then hopefully you have a discussion board or paper. To get some faculty to do that was almost impossible, so we didn't necessarily mandate that, but I pointed that out to them that, you're using these types of verbs, and so you need to be actually doing that, what you're saying that you're trying to do.
Ruth.
Takes me a minute to get that mic clicked back on.
Not a problem.
Why did you choose to focus on accessibility?
Absolutely. So there is a lot of lawsuits that are coming out from universities. It's pretty much, it's federal law now that for any online course that a student with a disability has got to have the same level as those students who do not have a disability. And so what court cases and what judges have said is that's day one. That means there is no longer going to a Office of Disability Services and waiting 2 or 3 days or a week for that student to get that material. The first day, the minute you say, here's week 2's module, if I have a seeing disability, at that point I've got to have the same level as those folks who don't need closed captioning or whatnot.
And with the online learning environment, you have so many students that are taking classes online that may have hidden disabilities. That might not have actually registered with our disabilities office. And our disabilities office has 2 people that really help with converting materials. So, to correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, I think that's part of a way of maybe getting ahead of any possible type of issues related to accessibility, is to try and teach the right way, teach faculty the right way to put materials online so that it's like it's supposed to be from the beginning. Does that answer your question? Awesome.
Absolutely. And Lydia mentioned hidden disabilities. Many, or not many faculty, but a few faculty have said that students whose native language is not English has also benefited from transcripts, because while they do watch the video, at least having that transcript there allows them to better understand the material within the video. All right, so I think what Lydia and I wanted to sort of go over, or to ask you now, is that here at USC we've obviously adopted the Quality Matters rubric and modified it a little bit to include more on the accessibility piece. But for the most part, everything else is identical. So we would like to hear from the audience, what quality assurance models are you using at your university, or maybe thinking about adopting at your university?
You can raise your hands, or you can unmute. I think number 1 and number 2 might help you raise your hands. If I see, is it Veronica? Did you just raise your hand?
Yes. We just purchased a subscription to Quality Matters, the latest edition. I think it's the 5th edition. I haven't gone through the certifications yet, but that's the one that we're adopting, Quality Matters.
Very good.
And if I can, I want to throw this in real quick. Something I learned from Dow just a week or so ago. working with a faculty member in chemistry to convert his symbols and characters that he uses for his chemistry course. And something that was so profound, I wanted to share this before you went off the topic about accessibility, is
Sure.
that oftentimes we think about accessibility in terms of a person who can't, who has visual or hearing impairments. But what I learned through that conversation with him and his chemistry professor was that students with ADHD or dyslexia or other type learning disabilities, they sometimes often uses text-to-speech programs, which is another reason why it's important to have your materials accessible. So, you know, we're no longer just dealing with visual and hearing impairments, but those that we hardly ever think about, like the ADHD and dyslexia, may use equipment or software to help them, read their materials to them. So I just wanted to throw that out there before I forgot to say it, that we need to steer away from just thinking visual or hearing impaired, because there's a lot of other learning disabilities out there.
Very good point, Veronica. I appreciate you mentioning that, and you're absolutely right. Dow is one of the people Veronica mentioned who actually works in our disabilities office, and he's really, really great. So thank you, Veronica. So we've got Quality Matters. We're using Quality Matters. Is anybody using maybe the Online Learning Consortium's standards, or have you identified any others that are national? Mary Alice?
Mary.
Hi. Yes, we actually use sort of a hybrid model taken off of the Sloan or the online consortium now. So, and we've been using that for about 4 years. But one of the things we need to concentrate on is what you have done, and that is the accessibility. That is not something that we have actually pushed at so far.
Patrick?
Thank you.
You all are probably also familiar with the rubric for online instruction developed at University of California, Chico. It was self-developed in-house, but you can lay that alongside Quality Matters, and it really has all the same elements, though they're kind of classified differently. But certainly a good rubric.
Awesome. Anybody else would like to share? Ruth.
We use Quality Matters, but we're focusing, as a community college, we're focusing on that forming communities of learners and including the students, and lots of interaction between the faculty and the students. Otherwise, we tend to lose them.
Oh, that is fantastic. And you're absolutely right. You know, one good thing about Quality Matters is that it does stress interactions, and that includes not only with the material, but with each other, with students and with faculty, and between the two. You know, you're absolutely right. You know, can we talk a little bit about how y'all adopted these across your campuses, and what were some of the challenges that you faced?
Yeah, but before Lydia, says that, one good thing, well, I guess it's good and bad to some faculty, but the Center for Teaching Excellence is a direct report to the office of the provost. So 2 or 3 years ago, it was when, and this was actually right before I got to CTE. But the current designers, and working with the Office of the Provost, they came up with the Quality Assurance, or the Quality Matters rubric, as being the official framework for all online and distributed learning courses. So we're lucky in the sense to have the Provost to have a 100% full support. And in fact, the Office of the Provost is the one that's kind of mandated that all courses go through this Quality Assurance rubric.
What could you share? What support you've got from your administration, or When were yours adopted, Ruth? You mentioned a few years ago. What about Patrick? Mary Alice? Would you like to? Could you share?
I just texted like capital letters 0. So there you go.
Oh no.
I'm not sure that our provost even anyway, doesn't matter.
Okay.
No, none.
We don't use ROI, I just mentioned that. We use Quality Matters, and Marion Macbeth is in here somewhere, and she can actually speak to when that was first implemented, if she'll speak up. Unless she's zoned out.
Okay.
I can go into the next office and wake her up. I need to.
I appreciate that. Could you speak to a little bit about it, how it's been adopted? Was it faculty driven or administratively driven?
It was administratively driven. We had a lot of tie-in to our QEP, and that helped to drive it. We actually have a 3-tiered process. Our first tier is a review of all new courses, which we use a checklist that is closely aligned to Quality Matters. It's kind of to get them going in that direction. And then after they teach it for a couple of semesters, they do a self-review, and their department usually assists with that. And then we do the full Quality Matters review when they're ready to go on it. We have a requirement, and I put that in quotes, that all of them will be QM reviewed by a certain time. But having the people to do that review, because we do all ours in-house, we don't actually hire Quality Matters to do it. We use their system, but use our own reviewers. So that does take a little time to find those people and for faculty to get ready. But we're making very good progress, I think, and have some very good courses.
Very cool. Can we ask a little bit about your structure? Are you part of a technology center or part of a CTE of some sort?
We have a Center for Distance Learning, which I guess is a kind of a hybrid of all kinds of things. We're placed in the technology area, but we do a lot of faculty development. We do policy development. We do a little bit of everything, whatever comes around, a lot of support work. Generally, we try to drive policies that will make distance learning more successful, but we work closely with deans and with program heads to be able to work within their faculty. All of our deans, the individual schools within the college, and it's a 2-year college, all the schools have people who work specifically with faculty who are doing distance learning, so they kind of do their own mentoring process, and that really helps a lot with getting courses up to speed much more quickly.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yes. Okay.
You want to...
Okay, sorry. I thought maybe there was a Ryan in the room. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right. So now that you sort of had talked about how they are how they were adopted, how were your quality assurance rubrics actually implemented? Was it sort of a here it is today, or was it a slower process? How did your university decide to implement the quality assurance or the rubric? Yes, Mary.
We have a program that faculty, it's optional, but they can sign up. They actually have to get approval to take. It's an online teaching institute, and at that point they're walked through the rubric. But there's not any sort of formal review process that actually determines that the rubric is being followed. So that's kind of an issue. But there's no standards or teeth behind anybody meeting a particular type of structure within their online course.
The Online Teaching Institute sounds interesting. Could you tell us a little bit about that? And you said they have to go through that before they actually teach?
What they do is they don't have to go through that. It's an optional thing. If they'd like to move a class from face-to-face to online, actually they're paid $3,000 to go through the class. But the class has to actually be offered online, and they have to reach a certain level of enrollment before they're paid the $3,000. But they attend a face-to-face, and they do then online things as a student. So we've built an online room that we use through our course management system, D2L, and all the online faculty then meet in this room and do certain things, and then they also meet face-to-face. So it's over a whole term, so they do one in the fall and one in the spring, and sometimes they'll do one in the summer as well, but that's not as popular.
Well, that sounds like a great opportunity for a really large financial incentive.
They like it a lot.
Do you get a lot of faculty that are taking advantage of it?
We've been running this for about 4 years now. Maybe this is our 5th year. We probably have about 70 to 80 faculty that have gone through it to this point. And I would say, as somebody who used to have the access to everybody's online course, going through it has really, really improved the quality of some of the online courses that we've offered.
Wow. Have y'all been able to follow up with some of the earlier members of the cohort?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And they also have an opportunity after they've offered the course 3 times to come back through in what we call online course redesign and rework certain pieces of the online course, which is kind of fun. And there they can collect $1,500 if they do the online course redesign. So again, they had to have offered it 3 times already and have some specific goals as to what they'd like to redesign the class, places that the class just didn't work properly for them. So, and again, we've got it used to be a group of 3, now it's a group of 2 because I left. And we're part of the IT much as Patrick's group is. We're called Teaching and Learning Technologies. And so we're the ones who assist the faculty. So right now it's just 2 instructional designers that have almost no teaching experience. All the teaching experience was here, and I left. So, and with the budget cuts that we're now facing in Wisconsin, I don't know if you've heard what Scott Walker's done to us, but our campus will have to cut their budget somewhere around 16 to 17% over the next 2 years. So I will not be rehired. My position will not be rehired.
I am speechless at that. I'm so sorry to hear about that. I think that lends us to actually to the next part of what we wanted to find out were some of the problems and challenges and what solutions y'all have faced when working with online learning and quality assurance. And I think financial is probably one of the biggest challenges. Ruth, you raised your hand?
I have tons of challenges. We had one instructional designer who retired 5 years ago, and they didn't let me rehire. So the way we try to work on quality assurance is with volunteers to help do the reviews, and it's really nightmarish because they don't think we need an instructional designer, I guess. So I'm working with an office of 3.5 people to try to do 1,200 courses. Yeah, of course, those are replicated sections, but it's really, really challenging.
How do y'all handle the this challenge? How do y'all do this? Do y'all pace things out?
The only courses that are reviewed right now are new ones going onto the schedule for the first time. And we do about 3 a year. But we really need to review all of them. And right now we are starting with getting people to just take the first course in QM, applying the QM rubric, so that they get familiar with some of the standards or the things that we are trying to push. And we don't we pay for our faculty to take it, and we still don't get people taking it. So it's very challenging.
I wish you luck. Ryan, I'm sorry.
Well, no, I was going to say, Ruth, one thing, that really interests me in the not only completing that class, but also completing the peer reviewer class, because as I'm a certified peer reviewer, once you complete the applying the rubric and then the peer reviewer class, then you're a certified peer reviewer, and then they will call upon you. Like I just did one over the Christmas holidays. Then they'll pay you. I think it was like $200 to actually review a course outside of your university. So that may be one way to encourage faculty is to complete that class, complete the other class, and then from there you're paid to review external courses.
We've got we do the applying the QM rubric with an English teacher facilitating it. We paid to have her trained. We did pay for a core of 12 to 15 people for the certified peer reviewer, and after they received it, they stopped doing reviews for us. We have to beg because we do our reviews internally. So we're still working through those challenges, but I'm getting some ideas by just listening to what you all are saying and what other people are saying. So I really appreciate this session.
Good. Mary, you were raising your hand?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I also am Quality Matter peer viewer certified. So I haven't had an opportunity or been called upon to do it, but I've got lots of experience reviewing our own classes on campus, but not so much off campus. But it'd be fun.
So thank y'all very much for sharing. And we have sort of talked a little bit about the incentives that we have. Are there any other incentives that y'all might possibly think of that could not necessarily be financial that we could share with faculty or help to try and help get them more on board with developing courses using our QM rubric? Any suggestions? Yes, Veronica?
I'm not quite sure how to answer that question because my panel discussion on last Friday was something very, very similar to this. And one of the questions we walked away from was the being afraid of when all of this is going to crash and burn. We want, as designers and maybe even those who are up to directors of distance learning, we want the best for the process that faculty have to go through to develop an online course. But at the same token, it's very, very difficult to get that done when you don't even have the distance learning infrastructure in place. And as you guys know, and some of the people here who attended the panel discussion on Friday, I'm a one-person office serving as the director, but the main hat that I wear is the instructional designer just to get the courses online with these faculty. So those of you in the same role know that an instructional designer's position is a main position by itself. And then to tack on training, doing the QM reviews, consulting when it comes to media, copyright accessibility. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. So I kind of got a little heartbroken when Mary said that her position would not be renewed, which says to me that the value at the administration level is probably not where it should be, because there will be emphasis on providing an infrastructure before we start talking about how do we get faculty involved. We can't get them involved when we don't have the support. You know, we take them 3 steps of the way, but the other 7 steps are missing because the support is missing. So, I mean, it's a legitimate problem, and I'm struggling with how to fix that, or if it's even fixable.
Patrick?
Patrick, you have some suggestions?
It helps if I unmute myself. I agree with Veronica completely, but the thing is, most distance learning programs did not start with the infrastructure. They started by a few faculty going online, getting, eventually getting a little help, and then building from there. It's the wrong way to do it, but without a huge commitment on the part of the institution, that's probably the way it's going to happen most of the time.
Do you think things change once the numbers increase and the financials bottom line increases a little bit when administration sees the value financially?
No.
Well, they always want the blood out of the turnip. It depends on how it's structured. There are many ways of structuring it, and if you can be self-funded, that's the way to go, because then you have, as you increase the number of students and number of courses, you increase the funding that you get, and it's a percentage of it, and you pass the rest on. But there are not too many programs funded that way.
And in the meantime, what if you have burnt out the one person, 1 or 2 people that you have in their role before it takes off? So, if those people get burnt out and leave, then now you're probably starting over from scratch, and it's just very hard, and it's disheartening.
Are there any ways to perhaps utilize maybe graduate students or student interns or have any of y'all used student workers to help with your program in some sort of way, the graduate level students perhaps?
Well, in my case, we don't have graduate students. I mean, we have the Master's Ed Tech program, but that's an online program, and they're not here.
Okay.
There has been talk about student workers, but at the same token, when you're talking about instructional design, how much of what I do can be turned over to students? I mean, I technically could probably have them do some of the things to take load off of faculty, but then I run the risk of not having my faculty be self-sufficient, and that's, to me, is more important than having someone do the work for them. There's nothing worse than working with a faculty member to get them up and running in their online course, and then when it comes time to start facilitating the course, they don't know how to make their own edits. So, there's a catch-20 there in my situation.
Mary?
Veronica, just to help you out here just a little bit, this was a program that I did many years ago, and it was just recently that we stopped the program. We used to use students from our College of Education to assist us, and what we would do is we would give them sort of the technology skills, the how-to skills, so that as an instructional designer, we could concentrate on setting the objectives and the goals and making sure that assessment was in line with all of those, and developing with the faculty member that piece. It was up to the student then to help the faculty member learn the technology or the application of that technology. That worked wonderfully. They were paid students, paid undergraduate students, cheap labor.
Yeah, and I echo that, Veronica. We just fall, we actually had a ed tech student at CTE that helped us do in the master's program. That helped us do various tasks, and and that actually worked out pretty well. So maybe if there is ed tech students in the greater Aiken, Augusta area, that's willing, because as you know, they had to do an internship. So this is what this individual did, was he did his internship at Columbia, and we were able to assign him various tasks. And I'm sure that, if you could get a student, they could do the same exact thing as Mary talked about by helping the faculty learn the actual technology, which could take some load off of you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I guess I need to get to that mindset and get to that point. I just, for right now, and it's been a year, things are being piecemealed right now. So even if I got a student or two for a semester, then that means the next semester I've got to start over again unless I get that same student. So for me, it's about, if we're serious about distance learning, we need to be serious about building the infrastructure and not temporary fixes. And maybe I'm leaning more towards that because I'm a one-person office. Now, if there was more people in my office to help spread the love around, that would be different. But when you're a one-person office and wearing 6 to 8 different hats, the temporary fixes for a semester may be okay for that semester, but the next semester I've got to start over again. So I want to try to figure out a way to move away from the Band-Aid fixes, if you will, and get something more stern.
Have you been able to produce any sort of numbers report to your supervisors who you report to show them how much you're actually doing and how much work is left to do? Do you think others that have faced the same challenge might be able to add to this a little bit? Would showing them the bottom line help with the situation?
I have not personally produced any numbers, but I think, as a matter of fact, I know that what's happening in our situation is definitely known. Last summer, I assisted 22 faculty with getting their summer courses online. So that was a ratio of 22-1. And what was reported was that online enrollment was the highest increase this campus has had in the past 6 years, 5 or 6 years. Wow. This semester, the ratio is 12-1. And that's still just too much. An average designer that works in an infrastructure that is in place typically has around 4 to 5, maybe 6 faculty that they work with each semester. So I'm still working a double load. And what happens when I'm working as the designer with that many people, I'm basically can only focus on the instructional design, training, tech support type of duties and not the directorship type duties. So it's just difficult right now. I guess these are growing pains right now, and I'm just not sure how to answer that question because of the situation.
Thank you so much, Veronica, for
so
sharing.
they know that it's there.
All right, so one of the last questions that we would like, or the last question that we would like to sort of kind of close with is to what levels of support do you provide, or does your institution provide to faculty? Here at USC, we have kind of 2 main offices. We have the CTE, which is what Veronica and I work in, and we do all the pedagogy side of the house. Then we have another office that does all of the Blackboard and the technical support and training side to the technology. So is your institutions and your universities set up the same way, or is there just one place that does it all? How is your institution structured?
I think I already said that at here we actually have one department and one department only. I've been working since 1996 to try to get a center for teaching and learning on our campus. We're the only campus in the whole UW system who does not have one. So we are part of IT, and there we are, and there will remain until the current two people leave, and then we'll have no one.
Ruth, you raised your hand?
My office is the Office of Distance and Distributed Learning. We have one technologist that does the training. We have one Blackboard administrator. We have me, and we have a part-time person. We report to IT with a cross-report to academics. So we're kind of a one-shot. But in the Virginia Community College system, we have a huge support group that meets online every couple of weeks, every 2 weeks. One meeting is Blackboard, one is instructional technology. So we kind of have a lot of good support that way, not physical working support. We've had distance learning at my campus since 2002, and it started just the way you said, with a couple of teachers doing some online, and then we exploded to a lot of almost all of our teachers want to teach online because they think it's going to be easier. Or it's their retirement job or something like that. So we've got a lot of strange motivations for doing it online.
Lydia?
Yes.
This conversation is great, but we've got to cut it off. The next presenter needs to go up in less than 5 minutes. So,
well, thank y'all very much for letting us have the opportunity to chat with y'all and for sharing with us.